so again, we're beginning to divide fractions. In order to divide fractions, we multiply the first fraction and the reciprocal of the second fraction. And reciprocal is switching, or finding the reciprocal is switching the numerator and the denominator. So let's look at an example where we're switching or finding the reciprocal of a fraction. For example, if we have 2/3, the reciprocal would be 3/2. We switch the numerator and we switch the denominator. Okay? Another value, let's say we have 5/6, and the reciprocal here would be 6/5. We switch the numerator and we switch the denominator. Okay? So that's the reciprocal. A reciprocal is when we switch the numerator for the denominator and the denominator for the numerator. Okay? So now we're going to look at some problems where we're actually writing the reciprocal of the second term times the first. All right, so let's say we have the following: 6/7 divided by 2/7. Okay? So we're going to rewrite this multiplying the reciprocal of the second term. So of course, we rewrite the first, we keep that the same, then we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. So instead of 2/7, we'll have 7/2, or 7/2. Okay? So multiplying the reciprocal of the second term, or second fraction here, is the same as dividing. Okay? If we had the following: 5/8 divided by 3/8. We're going to rewrite this. So we have 5/8 times, and the reciprocal of the second term is 8/3. Okay? So remember, for that second term, we change the symbol to multiplication, and then we switch or find the reciprocal of the second term. Okay? All right, so now we're going to do another example here, and we have 1/5 divided by 1/3. Of course, we're going to multiply the second term, multiply the reciprocal of the second term. So here, if we rewrite this, this is going to be 1/5 times, instead of 1/3, we're going to have 3/1. Okay? All right, so now let's begin multiplying. Let's begin dividing fractions. All right, here we go. So now, let's say we have the following: 4/5 divided by 10/12. Oh no, I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong fraction. Give me a second. 4/5 divided by 8/10. 4/5 divided by 8/10. So now, of course, we're going to rewrite the following. So here we have 4/5 times, instead of 8/10, we're going to have 10/8. All right. So 4/5 divided by 8/10 is the same as 4/5 times 10/8. All right. Then we look to cross simplify. Of course, 5 and 10 are multiples of 5. So we can divide 5 by 5, that gives us 1. We can divide 10 by 5, that gives us 2. We can also do the same for 4 and 8. 4 and 8 are multiples of 4. So we can divide 4 by 4, that gives us 1. 8 divided by 4 gives us 2. Now we're just multiplying multiplying the simplified parts of this fraction. So of course, when we multiply, that's going to be 2 over 2. And of course, 2 over 2 equals 1 whole. All right. Let's look at another example. And I'm going to leave this up here. Sorry about that. So we have 3 4/5 divided by 6/20. Of course, this is a mixed number, so we have to change this into an improper fraction. Of course, our denominator is going to stay the same, and then we multiply 3 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. And then we're going to take the reciprocal of the second term and multiply. So we have 19/5 times 26. All right. Then we look to simplify. Cross simplify. Of course, 19 and 6 are not multiples of a value, but 5 and 20 are multiples of a value, so we can simplify by dividing both these values by 5. Of course, 5 divided by 5 equals 1. 20 divided by 5 equals 4. All right. So now when we multiply, numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator, of course, 1 times 6 equals 6. 19 times 4, well, we know 4 times 9 is 36. Drop our 6, raise our 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Okay, so now we have an improper fraction, so we have to change this improper fraction to a mixed number. And we do that by division. Top value inside, bottom value outside. Okay, so now we divide. Of course, we can get we can get one group of 6 out of 7. So that's going to be 1 here. We multiply and subtract. 7 minus 6, that equals 1. Bring down our next value, 6, and then that makes 16. So then we're going to look to divide again. We can divide here 2 times. We multiply and subtract. That's going to be 12. And when we subtract, that's going to be 4. So of course, remember, this is our whole number, this is our numerator, and this is our denominator. Okay? So now we're going to rewrite this as a mixed number. So that's 12 and 4/6. But we can look to simplify. We always look to simplify. 4 and 6 are multiples of 2, so we can divide by 2, and if we divide both 4 and 6 by 2, that's going to give us a simplified fraction of 12 and 2/3. And this is our final answer. All right. Are there any questions so far? Are there any?
No.
All right, we're good to go. All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so now let's look at the following. Here we go. All right, so we have 5/4 divided by 3/8. All right, so of course we're going to multiply and then take the reciprocal. So we can rewrite this as 5/4 times 8/3. We can look to simplify across. 5 and 3 are not multiples of a factor, but 4 and 8 are multiples of 4. So we can divide both of those by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then once we multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator, we're going to get 10/3. But then again, we have an improper fraction, so we have to change that into a mixed number. So here we have 10 and 3. Numerator goes inside, denominator goes outside. So here we can divide 3 times. When we multiply and subtract, we're going to have 10 minus 9. That gives us a remainder of 1. Then we have whole number, numerator, and denominator. So here our final answer is going to be 3 and 1/3. All right. Let's look at another problem. So again, here we have a whole number 4 divided by 1 and 1/8. So of course we have to change this to an improper fraction using our Big C method. So now we also can rewrite this as a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite both of these. That's going to give us 4/1 divided by, of course our denominator stays the same, 8. Then we multiply and add. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9. All right. So now we can look to simplify. Of course 9 and 1 are multiples of 1 only, and that won't simplify those two values. But 4 and 8 are multiples of 4, so we can divide both of these by 4. I'm sorry, no, wait, we can't do that yet. I skipped a step, I'm sorry. So we have 4 and 8. Now we have to multiply and take the reciprocal of the second term. That's the step that I missed. So we have 4/1 times, instead of 9/8, we would have 8/9. And now we look to simplify. Of course, 4 and 9 are not multiples of a factor, neither are 1 and 8. So now we just multiply. Multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. We'll have 32/9. Then we have to rewrite this as a mixed number. So we divide top value in, bottom value out. 32 divided by 9. So then we can divide here 3 times. We multiply and subtract. 32 minus 27. Regroup, 2. That's 12. And now we have a remainder of 5. Whole number, numerator, and denominator. So that means our final answer here is 3 and 5/9. All right. We're going to do one more. All right. So here we have 6 and 2/8 divided by 2 and 1/2. All right. So of course we have to change both of these values into improper fractions. Multiply, add, multiply, add. So now I'm going to rewrite these two values as improper fractions. So we have 8 times 6, which is
48.
Thank you, 48. And then 48 plus 2 is 50. And that's going to be over 8. Then we have 2 and 1/2. So we have to change that, write the division symbol. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And that's 5 halves. So now we're going to rewrite this using the reciprocal of the second term and multiplying it. Okay? So now here we have 50/8 times, instead of 5 halves, we're going to have 2/5. Then we look to simplify across. So of course 50 and 5 are multiples of 5, so we can divide both of those by 5. This is going to give us 10 and 1. Then we can also simplify across 2 and 8. They are multiples of 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then I'm going to rewrite that fraction after we multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. I didn't mean to do that. So that equals 10 times 2 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4. All right. So now we're going to look to rewrite this as a mixed number. Top in, bottom out. Of course, this divides evenly 5 times. So we have 20 minus 20. That equals 0. So that means our final answer here is 5. All right.